Pepper spray is an incredibly useful tool in your defensive repertoire, but not against deadly threats. Hi everyone, this is John with today's active self-protection lesson. Today's lesson comes to us from Franconia, New Hampshire, and it is the murder of Corporal Bruce McKay of Franconia PD. It's going to teach us some very important lessons here about knowing when to use the appropriate force multiplier and also the limitations of pepper spray.
You have to go read the news story on this one. There's a long history between Corporal McKay and Lico Kenny, this guy that he has just pulled over here. And they have had many run-ins. This is in rural New Hampshire, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the background. Please read the news story in the description to get all that. And Corporal McKay has pulled over Kenny here for a registration that's expired, and they've had a long history. So the guy decides to run. He said to his passenger he was going to go to where he had witnesses. But Corporal McKay is going to get around him in his Tahoe here and stop and now turn around because he's going to pull this guy over. Now we're going to listen in and hear what happens as Corporal McKay is going to finally get this guy pinned down and then come and get him. And we'll see what happens and come right back and learn some lessons. So what you saw there was Corporal McKay uses OC spray, and it didn't completely incapacitate Kenny, who then pulled out his high point 45 and shot 7 times at the corporal, hitting him 5 of those times. He's then, if you go read the news story, going to go and run him over and then be killed by a bystander who stopped to help Corporal McKay. That's how this one ends, and I do want to come back and learn some significant lessons from this one here. First of all, we see these guys here, and he's going to get him pinned in, and that's, you know, they're going back and forth. They're having a discussion and a talk, and if you're going to get in any kind of confrontation, if you have time to plan, you have to have a plan in place that says, wait a minute, what am I going to do in this instance if it escalates? Now, we didn't know that this guy had a gun in here, but Corporal McKay decided he was going to use the OC spray because the guy had run, and I am a big proponent of OC spray. I think it's a very good tool against a non-lethal threat, but it doesn't end every threat. Not everybody is affected by it, and it doesn't completely end it. So the next thing that Corporal McKay does here is he's very cavalier. Number one, he's not wearing his body armor this day. I tell all my law enforcement friends, wear your body armor every single shift. Number two, he turns his back on a threat that he doesn't know has ended. So now we see that that threat has gone and gotten his 45. If you go and you read the news story, it's a high point 45, and it will do the job. Now, what we're going to see here is he is going to fire that gun 7 times, but what you do notice here is that it does jam on the 7th round. And so, I mean, we're grateful for that, but it did not save Corporal McKay's life. He was killed in the initial exchange of gunfire here. It wasn't an exchange, it was just a gunfire from him. Now he's going to try to get it unstuck and he's going to run off. So there's some important lessons to learn from Corporal McKay's death. Number one, there's always a backstory. You got to go and read that to see kind of why things happen the way that they do. Number two, that doesn't, make it any better that the officer was killed here. Number three, you've got to take the appropriate precautions, and you have to make sure that the threat is ended, especially if you're using less lethal means. Rest in peace to Corporal McKay, and our prayers to his family.